The purpose of the Day 1 module is to give an overview of this course, some of the topics that we will talk about, and also walk you through what a module is and what's going to be expected of you outside of class. Our first topic in this course is systems and models. This topic identifies some of the underlying principles that can be applied to living systems. We'll look from the individual level up to that of the whole biosphere. The systems approach in this course emphasizes that there are similarities between all types of systems, environmental systems, biological systems, and even artificial systems like transport and communication. We will stress that there are concepts, techniques, and terms that can be transferred from one discipline, like ecology, to another, such as something like engineering. So our emphasis is going to be on ecosystems, but we'll use terminology that can also be used in economic, social, and value systems. This course is not just environmental science, it's environmental systems and societies. Some of the terms that we'll look at: open system, closed system, isolated system. We'll talk about how energy flows between systems, what equilibria is, positive and negative feedback. We'll describe how matter and energy transfers and transforms in between systems and within a system, and how inputs and outputs flow and are stored within systems. So a lot of terminology here, but we will build on this for the rest of the year, or the rest of the semester. Our topic for today is kind of looking at one of the causes of environmental problems, which is population growth. And the question is, have we reached our carrying capacity? The first question is, how many people are there on Earth? Well, you probably remember when we reached 7 billion. Today there are about 7.18 billion, or close to 7.2 billion people on Earth. How many people can Earth support? That is something we don't know the exact answer to. Some think that we've already reached our carrying capacity. Even though we have over 7 billion people on Earth, can our Earth really support that many people? Some of the evidence that it cannot is that our air quality and water quality have been degraded. We have the resources in place, but if they aren't the quality we need, we're going to slowly lose those resources. A decrease in arable land. Arable means that the land can be cultivated, that you can plant crops and they will grow. We can't create arable land because you have to have certain climate characteristics, amount of precipitation. We can't just grow a garden in the middle of a desert. So there's certain latitudes, certain climates that are conducive to cultivation. But as our cities are sprawling out into suburbs and we're constantly growing, and also some of our agricultural practices, overgrazing, that is causing desertification of our arable land, we are losing that. So if our population continues to grow, we need to be able to produce more food on less land. Also, we see that impacts are not created equally. If you live in one country, your individual impact is not going to be the same as if you live somewhere else. Our developing countries, or LEDCs as we will call them, less economically developed countries, make up 82% of the world's population, but they only use about a quarter of the resources. Our more economically developed countries, or MEDCs, make up a much smaller percentage of the population, but use 3/4 of the world's resources. So in turn, they're also going to produce more of the waste. If we compare the United States, we're 4.6% of the world's populations, and the U.S. alone uses a quarter of the world's resources. So an individual in the United States is going to have a much greater impact than an individual in a developing country, even though they have more of the world's population. If we look at this map, you can see the dark orange are less economically developed countries: Central and South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, whereas our more economically developed countries are in the tan or light orange color: United States, Canada, Europe, Northern Asia, Australia. So in comparing our more economically developed and less economically developed countries, The more economically developed countries are going to be highly industrialized. They're going to have higher per capita gross national product. The U.S., Japan, and Germany together, those three countries alone, account for over half of the world's economic output. The less economically developed countries have low to moderate industrialization, and they're going to have a lower per capita gross national product. Now, when you hear the term per capita, that means per person, not per country. Most of our less economically developed countries, as we saw on the previous screen, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and most of our world population growth is occurring in these developing nations. Just a reminder of gross national product, that's going to be one of your vocabulary terms, but that is the market value of all goods and services produced both within and outside of a country for its final use during a year. One of the things that we're going to be looking at this year are various environmental problems. So it's important to understand what causes those problems. Probably the most important or the biggest cause is rapid population growth. We are increasing our population exponentially. And as our population continues to grow, we're putting stress on our resources, the water resources. We mentioned arable land. And our Earth is not going to be able to continue to support this many people. Or unsustainable resource use. Sustainability is one of the themes that we will keep coming back to throughout the year. It's the idea that what we do today will be sustainable. Our way of living can continue indefinitely. Currently, we are not living sustainable. We are using up resources faster than they can be replenished. Poverty is another root cause, and we'll spend some time looking at how poverty can control some of our environmental problems. Why is that a factor? Not including environmental costs and market prices. Not putting a dollar amount on the degradation that's occurring when we're mining and producing these products. And then the last is trying to manage nature with very little knowledge about how it works. So not knowing the outcome or the impacts of the things that we are doing. Even some of our management techniques have a chain reaction that we are not aware of. Okay, and that's it for day one module, and that's kind of the pattern that you'll follow. So you work through these at your own pace. You can pause, take notes, or just listen. It's up to you and whatever fits your learning style.